Well, g'day everyone. So we're going to be reviewing a J. Warner Wallace video called The Case for Truth. It is, how long is it? This is the Summit Lecture Series, and this is 52 minutes. Whoops, it's muted. Try again.
This is a job that you start off. If you're somebody who wants to be a detective, you got to start off the hard way. I was raised in a law enforcement family. My dad was a cop. He was also at Torrance. He hired on in '61. I was born in his academy. My son Jimmy was born in my academy. So it's kind of multi-generational. When I was in high school, I thought I would actually do this for a living, but I got distracted for a number of years and spent some time studying the arts. So I have a bachelor's degree in design. I have a master's degree in architecture from UCLA. And I graduated from UCLA on a Sunday. I was in the police academy the very next day. And I have been there ever since. I just knew that when I was in grad school that although we use a lot of art in what we do in jury trials, and you're going to see the presentations we do today are driven by media, but for the most part, I knew I couldn't do that for a living. And I was already married. I was with my wife, and I thought, that's not a job for us. So I went back to law enforcement. Now in law enforcement, you got to pay your dues. So I spent time in patrol, a lot of years in patrol. And then I came out and did 2 years in gangs. This is my son, Jimmy here, this blonde haired kid. David's a med student at USC. So we're divided, okay? Our house is divided. We have two of us who went to UCLA. Jimmy went to UCLA also. We're divided. This is my son, Jimmy here, this years in patrol. And then I came out and did 2 years in gangs. This is my son, Jimmy here, this blonde haired kid. David's a med student at USC. This is my son, Jimmy here, this blonde-haired kid. David's a med student at USC. So we're divided, okay? Our house is divided. We have two of us who went to UCLA. Jimmy went to UCLA also, but David's at SC, so he's the traitor in the family. Now, after I did a couple of years working gangs, I actually spent 4 years working undercover. We were doing big dope deals, big Colombian dope deals, which are major. I did 3 years in SWAT, too. I mentioned that. 3 years in SWAT. That's fun, by the way, very fun. But we did these big dope deals where we're getting a bunch of kilos. And I didn't cut my hair.
So he says, this is my son, Jimmy. I don't know who he was pointing to. Anyway, let's keep going.
4 years. Why cut your hair if you don't have to, right? Because you have to have this stupid haircut your entire career, except for those 4 years. And after that, went right to investigations, and I was working in a robbery homicide. Most of that time, I was not a Christian. And I was the kind of atheist that was really pretty obstinate. And I think I was a pretty well-educated atheist. I mean, I had reasons why I rejected God's existence. So if you're going to come up against atheist objections, I'm pretty sure I held them in one fashion or another when I was an atheist. And I was pretty thoughtful about my atheism. I wasn't raised in a Christian family. I don't have Christians in my family. My dad's still an atheist. But I raised my family. I got saved when my kids were pretty young. So they don't remember a time when I wasn't a Christian. So that was kind of good for them. So we do these cases that are high profile cases because they're cold cases. They're only murders. There are no cold cases that are anything other than murder. Murder has no statute of limitations. You can do a murder and I can come after you years later. You do a robbery after a certain number of years, I can't come after you. There's a limitation on how long I can prosecute a robbery. But a murder, I can go after those forever. As a matter of fact, right now I'm in trial. We're 3 weeks in. We started 3 weeks ago. I'm on the stand on Monday, so I have to get back. Tomorrow I fly back.
So he's still operating. When was this done? That's 2014, so he may have retired from that by now.
So he said there's no statute of limitations on murder?
Correct.
So let's say I live to be 100 years old and I committed a murder, I don't know, like 70 years ago, and I confessed it, they could still prosecute me for that?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Absolutely. No statute of limitations on murder. And especially with DNA evidence now being so good that they can say, oh, we know who you are. And they go find the person through genetic, because all people are getting their DNA tested, lots of people. And lots of the genetic labs are cooperating with the police when the police say, well, we've got this DNA from this person. Can you narrow down the family for us? And if that person has been DNA tested, they can tell you the actual person. But if they haven't, they can tell you the family. And they can tell you who most likely it is in the family. So then you have enough evidence to go to a judge and say, I need a subpoena for this person's DNA. And you'll nearly always get it because you've got enough evidence that the subpoena is justified. There's a guy recently who was a serial rapist and murderer decades and decades ago. He's now in a wheelchair in his 80s or something. Last I checked, this was like a year ago, I heard about this. And they finally tracked him down. Same thing. Yeah, I think the same thing happened with the East Area rapist, there was a rapist that was operating in California and he moved around a few times. And so he got different names in the different places where he operated. But he was a rapist and murderer. And they caught him through DNA evidence. Decades later. Yeah.
How? Like, how long is your DNA good for? Like, they save it in a bag or something?
Yeah, so you keep the DNA and you try to keep it in the best conditions that you can so that it doesn't decompose. Yeah. But yeah, you refrigerate it or whatever. Try and not expose it to, I don't know, oxygen, I guess, or whatever. Yep. Whoops. This one.
Okay, Los Angeles County. And it's a case that from 1979. And these are all cases that have been covered by the media. We've been on Dateline 3 times. This case we're doing right now is also a Dateline case. They're in there filming every day. So if you do well, you get to do well on national TV. If you lose, you get to lose on national TV. I don't want to do the interview as the loser, okay? Trust me. So I'm hoping that we're going to do well on this case as well. But now we're going to take some of those techniques that we learned doing cold cases, and we're going to apply them to the Christian worldview. There are some skill sets that you can actually employ as a Christian to determine whether or not this is even true. And that's what we're going to do today. Make sense? I'm going to give you some skills to work with, and then we're going to make the case. Today, I still work at our agency. I'm the chaplain now. So now I get to put a gold crosses on my lapel, and no one can say anything about it. I get to wear those all the time. This is my son, Jim. He's now a police officer. We're kind of like the George Foreman of law enforcement. Do you know who George Foreman is? He's got 6 kids. Do you know what his 6 boys' names?
I guess that's his son there next to him in that photo.
This is my son, Jim. He's now a police officer. We're kind of like the George Foreman of law enforcement. Do you know who George Foreman is? He's got 6 kids. Do you know what his 6 boys' names are? George Foreman. That's right. George 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're kind of the same way. 3 guys named Jim Wallace. We've all done the same job. For the last 53 years, if you called the Torrance Police Department and asked for Detective Jim Wallace, someone's been there to answer the phone. And for the next 30 years, this knucklehead here will be there. He's also on our color guard. So we get to hang out a lot. Now, I think that we have all been doing this job the exact same way. We've carried the same weapons. We've done the same kinds of interviews. We've employed the same kinds of techniques, all 3 of us, going back 53 years. And I think we can turn a corner now and apply these techniques to the Christian worldview. So I'm going to try to give you basically 3 generations of information. I want to start off by showing you the problem we're facing with young people in the years they attend college. Christians who attend college leave Christianity in large numbers. It's pretty ugly. I used to have everybody stand up, and instead I'm going to draw something on the wall for you. There's a reason why the numbers are as bad as they are, and they are bad, disgustingly bad. Most young Christians will step away from the church in their college years. Some will come back, but most will step away. And I don't care who's doing the survey, the numbers look bad. They look anywhere from, say, 55 to 80% of Christians who claim to be Christians in their freshman year in college will no longer claim to be Christians by their senior year in college. And I don't care if it's Baptists, if it's Lutherans, if it's Assembly of God. I don't care who's doing the survey, if it's Gallup or Barna, if it's the secularists who are doing the surveys. It all looks the same. It's bad. Why is it happening? That's the problem, really. And I want to talk about that a little bit. I think there's a simple...
Because they're not born again. We're not explaining the gospel.
Right.
I don't think I agree with what he's about to say, because he thinks we don't give evidence, and that can help. But teaching the gospel is what really is needed. You can give all the evidence you want. That doesn't make people Christians. But this is still useful. So with that caveat, let's keep going.
Simple math to the problem we're seeing on college campuses, and I'll draw it on this whiteboard for you, okay? Here's the first part of the equation. We're going to add three things. The first thing we're going to add is that students who we send to university, Christian students we send, are really poorly prepared. So we have poorly prepared students. In other words, if I was to ask you, why are you a Christian? Now, this is an unusual group because you've already decided to spend 2 weeks at Summit and you're at the end of your first week. I get it. You guys are probably not in this group. I hope not. But if I ask, I go all over the country speaking at churches and conferences and university campuses. I'm in Ohio State next month. And I can tell you, if you ask Christians, why are you a Christian? You know what you hear? It's the same every time. I can tell you right now what you're going to hear. Well, I was raised in the church. I've always been a Christian. Well, you know, I pray to God and God answers my prayers.
So they're not a Christian. That's the fundamental problem. They don't know the gospel. People aren't preaching the gospel. People aren't saying to them, no, you're not a Christian just because you come to church. You're not a Christian because you grew up in a Christian home. You're not a Christian because you prayed a prayer.
Mm-hmm.
I have a sense that God is with me. I have a deep personal relationship with
Absolutely
Jesus
right,
Christ. I know that Jesus has changed my life. I had a transformation.
We get people like Crimson Air where they claim to be Christians and they want to argue about doctrine, but then you say, can you show me how to become a Christian from the Bible? And they can't do it.
Nope.
They have no idea. None.
Yep. Deeply concerning.
Those are all good answers.
No, they're not. I might find myself disagreeing with this guy more than I expected before I started. We shall see.
My dad remarried. He's an atheist still. But his second wife, who he's been with for about 45 years, she's a Mormon. And I have 6 brothers and sisters, all raised LDS. I spent a lot of time in wards growing up. Probably why I was an atheist for as long as I was. But do you know my Mormon friends and family? Those are their answers. They give me the exact same answers.
Yep.
The same answers that most Christians give.
So why are you saying they're good answers? They're not good answers. They're terrible answers.
Now, none of us as Christians believe that Mormonism is true. So shouldn't our answer to that question be different? A little different? Can it really be I was raised in the church? I have a sense that it's true. I've experienced God. They all say that. How about I know it's evidentially true? Because they can't say that.
Yeah, well, that can be useful, but I'd rather base it in the Bible This is what God says. And he's proved it by saving me. By grace, through faith. Not by evidence through intellectualism.
We have to be ready to be able to answer this question. We have to be better prepared. And right now,
Yes, we do. And better prepared than that.
students are not well prepared. That's the first thing. Second thing. Aggressive, antagonistic campuses. Let's face it, most college campuses are not in favor of Christianity anymore.
So
They're
why
not.
are we sending our Christian kids
If you're
there?
unprepared, and then you've got college professors and college groups
Right.
now that are ready to kick your butt,
Good question.
you're ready to have
Why
your
are we
butt
sending
kicked.
our kids to secular?
That's what's going to happen.
colleges?
You're not prepared. You don't go to a fight.
You're sending your kids to a secular university for an education, but when they go there, they're getting indoctrination, and then they're taught evolution, and the professors are secular and they hate God. It's a disgusting place. It's not worth it.
Why would you go to the devil to train your kids?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Because that's what we're doing.
Yep.
I'm not sending them to places that honor God.
Nope.
Fight without training, but you're willing to go to college without training? That's just called stupid. There's a third thing, though, that most of us leave out. And my friend Brett Kunkel, who teaches here also, he's not, I don't think he's in your session this session. You guys know who Brett Kunkel is, though, right? He's always teasing me about my age. This isn't even my natural hair color. This is a weave I put in to make me look older. You know that, right? Stupid guy. There's a third, oh, look at that. It doesn't even work. There's a third thing that you can't see, and you're never going to know because I can't teach it to you because I have a pen. I'll have to do it in black. There's a third thing. This is the thing that really is the problem because all of us have it. You have basically innately fallen humans as students. This is the thing no one wants to talk about, but it's huge. We're unprepared, we're stepping into hostile territory, and we have a predisposition as fallen humans to chase our desires anyway. Trust me, if you can give me a worldview that explains how we got here and has its own creation story, but it allows me to sleep with my girlfriend without feeling bad about it, I'm gone. I'm in that worldview. So if you're willing to give a student in an antagonistic environment an alternate worldview that'll...
This is the best thing he's said so far. Absolutely spot on.
allows them to chase their passions, most of us end up over here.
Evolution.
And most Christians end up over there. This is what the statistics show. So let's face it, we're all...
Okay, you're wrong again. They're not Christians. And this is what the statistics show. Oh, so statistics determine who a Christian is, does it? Not the Bible.
All of us we're innately fallen to begin with. We all want to chase our passions and our desires, but this is where we get an excuse to do that. And what do you think is going to happen when those things come together? Honestly, what do you expect to happen? That's what happens. See the problem? Now, it's not just students that have a problem in the church in this regard. Because when I ask this question of why you're a Christian, adults are just as bad. So while students are at least bold enough to leave, adults don't leave. Adults just sit there apathetically. We're not willing to engage it really because we're not really all that convinced. It's true for me, but it's not really true. And if that's the case, why should I get all excited about this? Do you see the problem? The problem is true for both of us. Students are leaving, adults are staying with apathy. We have to move the church in a new direction. That's why we have something like Summit to begin with. You are the church. You're the most important demographic in the church. You're the future. I'm a was. You're an is. That's the difference. When's the last time somebody my age was writing pop music that influenced the culture? It's not happening anymore. It's people your age who are doing that. You have a voice right now, an opportunity. Don't waste it. Now, if I was to tell you that for the afternoon session, I want to take you on a missions trip. I want us to go downtown to Denver, and we're going to share a very important truth claim with people who have never heard it before. It's going to cost you some money because every missions trip costs money. It's going to cost you $150 because after all, we got to get there. We got to set up some things. We got to work with the local organizations. We got to have food for everybody. It's going to cost something, but every missions trip does. So we're going to ask you to come, give up your afternoon, 5 hours, $150. It's not going to be easy. We're going to go to the worst part of Denver, and we're going to share the truth. Would you be willing to come? You just heard Dr. Noble talk about how charitable we are as Christians. Would you be willing to do a missions trip with me today? Raise your hand if you'll go. The rest of you are going to hell. So raise your hand if you're going to go. Okay, I mean, come on. But what if I told you the truth claim we're going to share downtown is the truth about the best dessert? The best dessert that any of us could ever eat for dessert. Okay, if I told you we're going to go downtown, though, and we're going to spend the afternoon talking to people about dessert. After all, we know what the best dessert is, right? You have an opinion about the best dessert? What's your favorite dessert? Shout it out. Fried.
Cheesecake.
Someone said fried something. Fried what? Fried ice cream.
Ugh, fried ice cream.
Yeah,
How do you fry ice cream?
Oh, very quickly. So basically you batter it, you dip it in really hot, so it cooks the batter, but the ice cream inside hasn't been touched by the heat yet because
Okay.
the batter protects it. It's an insulation. And it's just, I felt like vomiting when I tried it.
I just don't understand how it works because wouldn't ice cream melt the moment it touches the hot oil?
Ice cream doesn't touch the hot oil. The batter on the outside of the ice cream touches the hot oil.
Oh.
And the batter insulates the ice cream.
Oh.
But yeah, let's just stick with ice cream. Ice cream's the best dessert. Cheesecake's good, but you need to add the ice cream to the cheesecake. Because ice cream's the best.
You like ice cream better than cheesecake?
Yeah, well, I like all desserts, and if you add ice cream to them, they're better. So ice cream must be the best dessert.
Oh. Okay.
Custard and ice cream. Oh, yeah. Cheesecake and ice cream. Yeah. You always got to add ice cream to it. But, you know, it's fine if you think that cheesecake's the best dessert.
Strawberry cheesecake. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I'm not a fan of strawberry. I'm a
I
fan
love
of real strawberries, but I hate strawberry flavoring.
No, I'm not talking about strawberry flavoring. I'm talking about cheesecake where and they put strawberry on top of it, like real strawberry.
Oh,
Yeah.
with real strawberries.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, the other dessert that I love is trifle. But trifle with ice cream's better.
What else? What do you think is best dessert? Ice cream? You?
Yeah.
Tiramisu. Okay. Anybody else? Cheesecake. I'm with you. Cheesecake's not bad. They're all wrong though so far. Go. Your grandma's wrong. Go. What is it? What is that? Oh, bacon. Oh, anything bacon is true. Good point. No, that's not it. The best dessert, of course, as we know, is chocolate chip cookies. That's the best dessert. Now, it's going to cost you $150, 5 hours. And we're going to spend the afternoon in downtown Denver. Are you guys willing to come with me and do this missions trip? No, that's a stupid missions trip. Now, why don't you want to come with me and do this missions trip? Why is it stupid? It's stupid because it doesn't really, I mean, who cares what your opinion about cookies is? That's a stupid thing to even be concerned about, isn't it? Think about that for a minute. This is dumb because this is really a matter of opinion. This is the first thing we have to get this morning. We've got to understand the nature of truth. If there's no truth, there's no truth about God. We can't talk about the truth about God until we establish whether there's a truth. And what kind of truth? I know that Scott Klusendorf came and talked to you about relativism, right? We worked together, so I know he doesn't cover all this material, so I'm going to try to cover it with you. We don't want to go downtown and preach about chocolate chip cookies because that's just stupid. Who cares if they agree with us about this? Is subjective. This is a subjective truth claim. I'm going to test you on this in a few minutes, so be ready. Got to catch this. This is subjective. Your opinion about chocolate chip cookies.
So you know the difference between subjective and objective truth?
So objective is opinion, I think, and subjective is what actually is. Am I correct on that?
No, the other way around. Objective is reality. Something being objectively true means that it's true no matter what you think about it. Subjective means it's just your opinion.
Okay. So I had it backwards. Okay.
And I don't know the way to describe how we came to those, using those terms, object and subject. They're probably actually the parts of the sentence. Object is the source, I think, and subject is the secondary noun in a sentence, if I remember correctly, which might not help you either because you might not know either of those two things, and I'm not sure of them. So literally the first meaning for object is a material thing that can be seen or touched. So something real. Object versus subject. Subject is the person or thing doing something. The object is having something. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong way around. Okay, so the complete reverse of that. So it's got nothing to do with subjects and objects of a sentence. It's to do with the fact that object is a real thing. So why do we call let's go subjective etymology. This is when language gets difficult. So this is subjective in the sense, so subject being a person who's under authority, a subject of a monarch. So it's subjective, meaning that it's submissive to the person's opinion, I guess.
Okay.
So it's of the person. It's of the person themselves. So it's not an external objective, like object in the sense of a real thing that I can touch and handle. So as far as I can tell, that's how those words came to be. And it's the reverse of the subject and object of a sentence, essentially. They came about a different way. Anyway, let's keep going.
Anyway.
This truth claim does not reside over here in the cookie. This truth claim resides over here in the subject who's describing it. It doesn't reside in the object. It resides in me as the subject. It's a subjective claim. You get it? Now, if instead of doing this, we went downtown and we're going to talk not about cookies, but about a cure. What if I told you there were people downtown right now who are dying of tuberculosis? TB is on the rise, you know. I have TB. I got TB positive from some crook about 10 years ago. But if you're after you're 40, if you get TB positive from somebody, they don't even treat you unless you're active. So I'm TB positive, but I'm not TB active. Do you trust me? Well, we're standing awfully close to each other, actually. I am TB positive. No, I'm not TB active. Okay, so don't worry. But the point is, TB is on the rise. And if I told you we could go downtown to a group that's dying of TB, right now they're in a small community, they are treating it with they're treating it with aspirin and and NyQuil and cough drops, but they're going to die of TB unless we get in there and offer them the one cure that cures TB. They don't know about it. They will die without us offering the cure. Would you be willing to spend $150 in 5 hours of your time to do that missions trip? Yes. What's the difference? The difference is in the nature of the claim. This is isoniazid. Isoniazid is the one true cure for TB. Nothing else will cure it. This is it. Now, the reason why we're willing to go downtown here is because now we're not talking about opinion. We're talking about truth, because this truth claim does not reside in me, the subject. It resides in the object here in this vial. This is an objective truth claim. Do you see the difference? My opinion can't make something true when it comes to objective claims. In other words, I could say, well, for me, I hate isoniazid. It's going to hurt. It's going to take a shot to administer isoniazid. I would much rather take my NyQuil. I get a pleasant buzz from it. I don't mind the taste. Well, I don't care. Your opinion that NyQuil is not going to change as a cure. Your opinion does not make this work. This works because it's in the nature of what it is that's working. It resides in. If you want to know the difference between objective and subjective claims, ask yourself this simple question: can my opinion change it? Can your opinion change this? Can I change my opinion about this and make it not the true cure? No, because it's an objective claim. Can my opinion change whether or not chocolate chip cookies are the best dessert? Yes. Change your opinion and everything changes. That's because that's a subjective claim. Do you see the difference? I'm going to test you on this, so be ready. And by the way, most churches and most groups I work with will fail the test. By the way, let's go back for a second. Why are we so adamant about we're willing?
Which disgusts me. The Christians don't know this. Why? Because they're not taught the gospel. It's about feelings. And so people think their feelings are objective reality because that's how most churches operate. It's about buttering up people's feelings.
Right. I think we feel so good about ourselves, right, if we're willing to go downtown and work in this mission field. Because we feel like this would be the right thing to do. Now, I really think there's a reason why most of you don't share your faith like you ought to. Because how many of you in this room right now would consider yourselves to be the Billy Grahams of your generation? In other words, I don't care where you are, you're waiting in a line, you're waiting at a restaurant, you're hanging out with people at your work, you're always sharing the gospel. How many of you are like that? How many of you are always sharing the gospel? Raise your hand. Yeah, exactly, right? Nobody in this whole room is sharing the gospel the way you should. I wonder if it's because you've been treating the gospel like a cookie instead of a cure. In other words, if you think that the gospel, that you're...
This is a good point. It is the gospel, the objective cure for all humanity, or is it just a matter of opinion? It's just what makes you feel good.
Beliefs about God are simply a matter of your subjective opinion, like cookies, you're far less likely to share them. If, on the other hand, you believe the gospel is the one objective cure for what's killing all of us, what kind of a person would you be not to share the cure? It's when you're convinced the gospel is objectively true that you're likely to move on it. And if you think it's just subjectively true, you're going to sit on your butt. We got to make this distinction. That's why we're taking time to do it this morning. Francis Schaeffer was a pastor. He really was a great thinker, a philosopher. He had a place called L'Abri in Europe where people would go, kind of like Summit. This has been called like Little L'Abri in some ways. And people would come and learn the truth. He made a distinction about truth claims. He said truth claims are kind of like in a house in our culture. where people put all truth claims in the house, and they kind of organize them in the house. All different kinds of truth claims. Mathematical claims, scientific truth claims, moral truth claims, theological truth claims. They're all in this house. Only problem is Schaeffer says this house that has all the truth in it is a 2-story house. It's not a 1-story house. And the second story is where a lot of stuff gets stuck that shouldn't be stuck there. He says the first story is filled with objective claims that transcend all of us. The second floor is filled with opinions, personal, subjective claims. The problem is, how do we categorize certain truth claims? So, for example, in Schaeffer's model, where do you think the culture puts scientific truth? They put it in the first floor. But where do you think the culture puts truth claims about God? Theological truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they stick it in the top floor. They say that stuff's all just a matter of subjective opinion. And as minute they do that, they weaken the truth claim, because opinions don't really matter if you think about it. Only objective truth claims matter. We have to reunite this idea and get to one total truth. So we understand that the truth claims about God are every bit as objective as truth claims about math. That's important. And I think Christianity has the opportunity to unite all of this. Think about what Jesus said on the Sermon on the Mount, right? He said that you got to be careful not to build your house on shifting sand. You've got to be careful to build your house on a rock. If claims about God are subjective, they're just shifting sand. If they are objective claims, though, they're like a rock. We got to decide what are those claims like. Now let's get after it, and we'll do this test. I'm going to give you one more quick briefing, then we're going to do the test together. Here's my 2004 Hyundai Sonata. What a beautiful car this is, right? This is a beautiful, wouldn't you all love to have this car? Yeah, nobody wants this car. This is like what my daughter calls an old man car, okay? But I love Sonatas, and I love Hyundais. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make a claim about Hyundais. You tell me if it's subjective or objective. Here's my claim. Hyundai automobiles are the coolest cars in the world. Oh, you're so quick to judge. Oh, this is a subjective claim. Really? Yeah, you're right. It's my opinion. And my opinion could change this, right? That's why I know it's a subjective claim. Is there a way that this claim could be an objective claim? Think about it. Now, someone a couple of classes back had a great statement. He said, yeah, if it was the only car on the planet. That's not what I'm talking about. Is there another way this could be an objective claim about Hyundai cars? How would it be about air conditioning? Yes, if I got every car in the world together and I put them all through a shop and I measured how cold their air conditioning made every car, and I discovered that Hyundais were 2 degrees colder than any other car on the planet because of their air conditioning, then this statement would be objectively true. Because it wouldn't be about my opinion, it'd be about the object, the Hyundai car who's got really great air conditioning. See the difference? Good. Just to show you how committed I am to Hyundais, I have 5. My son, Jimmy, when he was in college, he wasn't a cop yet. He had long hair like I did, and he needed a car. I got him a Hyundai Access. There he is, standing with his Hyundai Access. And then when my son David went to med school, he needed a car. We got him a Hyundai Elantra. There he is with Hyundai. Since then, I've bought another Sonata and a GX350, which my daughters drive. So yeah, are we committed to Hyundais? Yes. Now, if I made this statement about Hyundais, I'm so committed, Hyundais can fly you to the moon. Objective or subjective? Now, we know it's a false claim, right? So it's kind of throwing you a little bit. But is it an objectively false claim, or is it a subjective claim? Difficult, huh? Can my opinion change this, make it fly to the moon? No. Therefore, we know since your opinion can't change it, this is an objective claim about Hyundais, but it's an objectively false claim. It turns out, if a claim can be true or false, you know it's objective. Subjective claims can't be true or false. In other words, if I said to you, I think chocolate chip cookies are the best cookies in the world, you couldn't say, no, you don't believe that. No, I believe that. You can't, I mean, you might be true for you, but you can't say there's a subjectively false claim. It's my opinion. My opinion's my opinion. If I say it's so with a subjective claim. But objective claims can be falsified. This can be falsified. Do you see the difference? I'm only offering it because we're going to need it when we take this test. Yes, we know that only spaceships can fly to the moon. Now, let's take the test together. We're going to divide all truth claims into two sides. On one side, we're going to put all objective claims. On the other side, we're going to put all subjective claims. Now, remember, objective claims are simply the stuff that's true for all of us, whether we like it or not, because our opinion has nothing to do with it. It's rooted in the object we're describing. And subjective claims, of course, are simply matters of opinion. They can vary from person to person because the person decides, the subject decides whether it's true. I'm going to give you a claim for this test. You guys tell me if it's objective or subjective. Are you ready? First claim. Jim's car is white. Objective or subjective? Objective. I mean, I can't change my opinion. I can think, well, my opinion is it's blue. Oh, if I go outside and it's white, it's white. So this goes over on this side. Make sense? That's an easy one. That's easy because it involves a claim about something physical. I could see a car. It's physical, right? How about this? White is the best color for cars. Right. Now we've kind of, these are easy. They're involving subjective, they're involving physical properties. Now let's talk about this. A little bit different. This is an abstract. This is not about a physical reality. This is about an abstract reality, about mathematics. 1 + 1 is 2. Objective or subjective? How many say it's subjective? Someone in the very back. You probably have a math knowledge, right? You probably have some reason theoretically why this may not be true. Got it. Now we can argue about that. And I'm more than happy to do that. In what scenarios might this be not true? Those are qualifications. But I think we could say that for all of us in our practical daily experience, if you have 2 pencils, one in each hand, you put them in your pocket, and I asked you how many pencils do you have in your pocket, you're going to say 2. And it really isn't a matter of your personal opinion, but it's more difficult because we can make a case about abstracts that makes it a little more difficult than about physicals. Let's go one more step. What about this claim? Now, some of you are thinking that this is so patently false, it has to be objective. How many of you actually like math as most exciting subject? Okay, these are all the weirdos and freaks in the room right here. No, I'm only kidding. We need lots more people doing math than we need people doing probably other things. But this is definitely a matter of opinion. It goes on the subjective side. Now, we've talked now about abstracts. We talked about physicals. Let's take another step because I think now it gets a little dicier. It's harder. What about this claim? How many say subjective? Raise your hand. Don't be afraid.
What was
so how
the
many
claim?
say objective? Raise your hand.
I didn't get a chance to read it.
Jim can do 100 push-ups.
Well, that can be proven.
That's right. And so it's an objective claim. It can be proven true or false.
Right.
How many say subjective? Raise your hand. So there's some division here. Now, again, you don't know the answer to this. This could be a false claim, or it could be a true claim.
And that's the point. If
but
it can be
my
false,
opinion change how many push-ups I can do? I mean, honestly. If you said Jim could do 1,000 push-ups, and I have the opinion I can do 1,000 push-ups, can my opinion make it so? No. Can your opinion make it so? No. Therefore, we know this is an objective claim, although you're not quite sure whether it's true or false. And by the way, if it could be true or false, you know it's objective.
there you go.
It's one of the definitions. So this goes on this side. What about this?
Did you see it?
No.
God exists.
Physical claims to abstracts. Now we're into metaphysical claims, the nature of reality. How many of you think this is an objective claim? Raise your hand. Okay, how many think it's a subjective claim? Raise your hand. It's not like, when we're not really.
You think it's objective or subjective?
Well,
Or you're still confused about which is which?
if I use philosophy, like creation can't exist without a creator, so my opinion would be that God has to be true, so that would be objective. But then other people would argue, well, it's subjective because you can't see God. But in my opinion, it's an absolute fundamental truth that God has to exist.
So it's not about whether it's true or not. And that's actually the point. The point is that it could be true or false. It's either true or false. So it's an objective claim. God exists. It's not subjective. It's not my opinion. Now, if I'm saying that my opinion is that God exists, that's a subjective claim. I believe God exists. But whether God exists or not, that statement, God exists, is an objective claim about reality. And he either exists or he doesn't. That's either true or false. So it's objective. Which doesn't tell us whether it's true, right? Because this is you can make an objective claim that is false, but it's still dealing with objective reality, not with objective.
Right.
So it's not just your opinion. Now, your opinion may be that God exists or God doesn't exist. Yeah, okay. So you can have an opinion about the objective reality. You can do that with any truth. You can have an opinion about it, and that's your subjective claim. But the claim that God exists or God doesn't exist is an objective truth claim, a claim about objective reality.
Right.
Religious environment, the right answer is always Jesus. Now, it's not like that. You can actually have a different answer because a lot of you are not raising your hands, I'm noticing. Either you have no arms or you're not quite sure. Right? But can your opinion change that? I could be wrong. I could say God exists, and I could be completely wrong. But my opinion is not going to make it so one way or the other. I can't think about it harder and make it so, or think about it less and make it not. This is a truth claim that is objective in nature. It may be false. We talk about that. We're doing that in the next session. But it is an objective claim. What about this one?
Christianity is the only true religion.
Now, you guys are not.
And Jesus is the only way to God.
Okay. Would that be a subjective?
Nope, objective. It's a claim about truth. It's not just opinion. It's objective. It's either true or it's false.
Right.
And so it's objective. But it's an objective claim about reality. Now, whether you believe it or not is subjective. But whether that's true or not, that's a claim about objective reality. And it's either false or true, so it's objective. What dessert you like is subjective. There's no right answer. What's the best dessert? That's subjective. Because there's no right or wrong. It's whatever you like. Your opinion rules, but your opinion doesn't rule on this one. Your opinion matters for you, but it doesn't change the truth of the statement.
Oh, now you guys are not sure right now. A lot of you are not sure. It's fine. How many of you think how many of you just right now are just not quite sure? Raise your hand. Don't be afraid to. This is the place to do it. I get it. Now remember, I gave you a litmus test to ask. Can your opinion make it so or not so? No. This could be a false claim. But it's an objective claim that's either true or false. Your opinion can't change it. This is the thing you've got to realize, folks. We have a claim about Jesus that is an objective, transcendent truth claim.
Yep.
We could be wrong about it, but if we're right about it, you dare not sit on this and do nothing with it. This is not like your opinion about desserts. If this is an objective claim and you think it's true, shame on you if you're not telling other people about it. It'd be like having the cure to cancer, but not wanting to really offend anybody with it. If this is a true claim, it's an objectively true claim. Make sense? Goes on this side. What about this one? Oh, no. No, now we've gone from physical claims to abstracts to metaphysical claims to the hardest and most difficult category of truth claims, moral truth claims. Are there any objective?
So did you see that one?
Premarital sex is immoral. Right. So I see what he said. Like, that would be an opinion.
Is it?
Well, because there'd be some people that say it's not, I guess.
But they'd be wrong.
I agree.
So this is an objective claim. Subjective truth is just people's opinions. Right now, people can have opinions about objective truth, but subjective truth is only people's opinions. There's no right or wrong. Is there a right or wrong? Yeah. So this is objective truth.
Gotcha.
Oh, no. No, now we've gone from physical claims to abstracts to metaphysical claims to the hardest and most difficult category of truth claims, moral truth claims. Are there any objective moral truth claims? Think about it. Cultures have divided on what they thought was right and wrong for all of history. Now we're going to say something is morally true or false, and we're going to claim it's objective. Is it really objective? What do you think? Is this an objective claim or a subjective claim?
It's an objective claim because God
How many of you really aren't
says-
sure when it gets to these moral claims? Raise your hand. Yeah, I think this is really, I mean, if we're honest with ourselves, I think because we get in this setting at Summit, it's like, yep, that's objective. Everything's objective. I'm confident it's objective. But in reality, we're not sure about moral claims. We know from surveying the culture, we're not sure about moral claims. Now, let me just offer this to you. If there is a single objective, transcendent moral claim we can agree on, then we're stuck with the objective, transcendent nature of moral claims. If you're wondering, are there such things? You simply have to think about hypotheticals. Is it ever okay to torture babies for fun? Did Scott talk about this? You know, that's at least one objective, transcendent moral claim we can agree on. But I would offer this. You might say, well, how about stealing? You should not steal. Really? You can't think of a situation in which you might be morally virtuous to steal something? If I've got a guy sitting across from me, he's got the code that's going to kill 1 billion people, and I can simply steal it off of his textbook so he can't set the bomb off, would that not be the morally virtuous thing to do? But if you add a single expression to the end of any of these moral claims, you'll see they're all objectively transcendent. If you say, is it ever okay to steal for the fun of it? No. Now you've removed every single exception. Is it ever okay to kill? Yeah. There are times when it's okay to kill. In California, killing in self-defense, killing to save the life of an innocent, these are called justified homicides. No one's going to take you to trial for those cases. But is it ever okay to kill for the fun of it? No. Never has been in any culture, at any time in history, on any place on the planet. That is a transcendent, objective, moral truth claim that has always been true. Anywhere you examine it. Is it ever okay to lie? Well, Rahab lied. She's in Hebrews 11 as a hero in the faith. Why did she lie? To protect the lives of 2 innocents who were in her hiding. But is it ever okay to lie for the fun of it? No. That's a transcendent, objective truth claim. Here's my point. This is either true or false, but it is an objective claim. It's not a subjective opinion. We could disagree about whether it's true or false the same way we disagreed about whether Jim can do 100 push-ups. But it's an objective claim. All moral claims are objective claims. Do you realize that? It ought to change the way we behave. You realize how bad the culture is when it comes to this? We stink. George Barna's done a survey of the culture, non-Christians, and asked them, are there any objective moral truth claims? Here's what he discovered. In the culture, as far as adults go, only 22% of adults say there's any such thing as objective moral truth. That means that 78% of the culture around us rejects objective moral truth. Everything's a matter of perspective, a matter of how your family raised you. Might be good for you, it's not good for us. When it comes to students in the culture who aren't Christians, pretty bad. Only 6% of teenagers think there are any objective moral truth claims. And in the church, it's not much better. As far as adults in the church, it rises a little bit to 34%. That means still you got 66% of Christian adults do not think they're objective moral truth claims. What do you think
They're not Christians. That is an extremely disturbing statistic. So God is not objectively right to cast people into hell. His opinion about morality is just his opinion. It's not objectively true.
Right.
Wow. How could a Christian believe that? Maybe they're confused. Maybe, but it's not Christian to believe that.
Right. There has to be moral truth.
Objective moral truth.
Yes, yes.
think of when they read what Paul's writing in the letters, what Jesus says in the Sermon on the Mount? Do they think these are opinions? And when it comes to the church in terms of students, you only get a 3% rise. Only 9% of Christian students in youth groups believe there are objective moral truth claims. We have got to fix this problem. This is a problem. And you ought to know better now. We talked about it.
And once again, this gets back to not valuing holiness.
Yep.
God is holy.
That's right.
But we downplay that. Oh, you can't offend people. And so we throw out the idea of objective truth. Things are objectively right and wrong.
You should at least know why these claims are objective. You may not agree with them. It's up to you. It's your duty to sort them out because they are objective claims. Now, let me just move to something. I'm going to give you 3 lies you're going to hear in the university. You heard one of them from Scott. These are 3 lies you're likely to hear in the culture today. The first one may seem obvious. Oh, there's no truth. There's no objective truth. Everything's a matter of perspective.
What do you do if someone says that, Kevin? There's no truth.
Are you sure that statement is true?
Is that true? Exactly. Yep. There's no truth. Well, you've just destroyed your own position.
Right.
If there's no truth, that's not true. So you've just proven that there is truth. I love when people make it that easy.
You hear it sometimes when thinkers in history will say things like this. Truth is what stands the test of experience. Well, if my experience is different than your experience, then my truth is going to be different than yours because truth is what stands the test of experience. Or you might hear it said this way. And I want you to just tell me who you think said this. Believe nothing just because a so-called wise person said it. Believe nothing just because a belief is generally held. Like, you Christians. Jesus was wise, wasn't he? And believe nothing because it's said in ancient books. Like the Bible's an ancient book, isn't it? Believe nothing just because it's said to be of divine origin. Isn't the Bible said to be of divine origin? And believe nothing just because someone...
I'm not sure I disagree. So believe nothing just because a so-called wise person said it. Jesus isn't the only so-called wise person. Jesus is actually wise. But the point here is just because someone claims that a wise person said it, just because it's generally held, just because it's in an ancient book. There's lots of ancient books besides the Bible. There are lots of claims of divine origin besides Christianity.
Someone else believes it. Believe only what you yourself test and judge to be true. That means
Believe only what you yourself test and judge to be true. That's very similar to what Wildheart said. The only way you can know things are true is if you can test it. Well, what do you mean by test?
Well, he said a lot of stupid things. He did.
means that you
I know.
are the final authority on it's all subjective. The subject is the final authority. Who do you think said this in history? I don't know, you guys know if we were here last year. This was said by Buddha.
Huh.
But how do we know that Buddha said this? Because it's in an ancient book of allegedly divine origin, said by a very wise man and accepted generally by lots of people. Do you see the problem with this claim? It can't stand on its own 2 feet. It actually violates everything it claims to begin with. It commits suicide. It hangs itself. This is called a self-refuting truth claim. If someone was to say to you, for example, there is no objective truth, you would ask the question,
Is that true?
Is that objectively true? Are you saying it's true that there is no truth? There's one objective truth claim, that there is no objective truth claim? Do you see how stupid that is? It's a problem. It's self-refuting. The second lie you're going to hear in colleges, I think, and in the culture, is this one. Okay, fine. I'll give you that first one. I'll give you that there might be some objective truth claims we could all agree on, but nobody is smart enough to really know them. I mean, things change all the time. We have a theory about science. We discover something new, it changes. If you don't allow for change over time in terms of just your ideas, we'd never progress as a culture. So clearly, you think you know something today, you could be wrong tomorrow. Truth can't really ever really be known with any level of certainty. And folks will say, you'll hear it in
What do you do with that, Kevin?
I mean, if that's true, then we can't know anything.
Turn it back on itself.
Yeah.
What did they claim?
They're basically claiming that we can't know anything for certain.
Yeah. So what do you say to them? Are you certain about that?
Okay.
Just immediately turn it back on them.
Yeah.
Because they're certain. They're certain that they can't be certain. Well, so you're a hypocrite because you're doing exactly what you're saying can't be done. Every single relativistic truth claim, or really it's a rejection of truth, commits this same, he calls it suicide. And he's absolutely right. They all suicide. Every single one of them. When you turn the claim back on itself, oh, so you're claiming that we can't know. Do you know that? You're claiming we can't be certain. Are you certain of that? Every single one of them. They all have this same problem. When you apply them to themselves, they self-destruct.
Yep.
And if you get stuck, just say to the person, can you say that to me again?
Right.
And think about what they're saying and go, if I apply this to what they're saying, you can't be certain. Are you certain of that? Like, just always look for that.
and famous atheists who have said things like, believe those who are seeking the truth, but doubt those who are so arrogant like you Christians. You're so arrogant. If there is a truth about God, why do you think you have the market on that truth? Why do you think you know what's true about God?
Because God exists and God reveals it. See, we have an external source of truth. So it's not subjective. Every other truth claim is subjective. Only biblical Christianity has an eternal, immutable, inerrant source of truth, perfectly revealed through Jesus Christ. Now, there's lots to unpack there, but it's not arrogance because it's not me trusting me. It's me trusting God. That's the exact opposite of arrogance. And to accuse someone who is trusting God of arrogance is itself arrogant because you're the one that's not trusting God.
Doubt those who find it. And I love this one by Molly Ivins. She says, look, I believe that ignorance is the root of all evil and that no one knows the truth.
What? That immediately contradicts itself. Ignorance is the root of all evil and no one knows the truth. Oh, so we're all evil. Well, wouldn't that be wrong? So you're saying that your claim is wrong. No one knows the truth. Right, so you don't know the truth. So how do you know that's true? If you don't, I mean, there's multiple layers of contradiction in this. This is one of the stupidest ones so far.
Do you see the problem? That means everyone's ignorant, right? This is another example of a self-refuting truth.
Including her.
If someone was going to say to you, truth can't be known, what are you going to say? Do you know that's true?
Do you know that?
Do you know it's true that truth can't be known? Apparently, there's one truth you can know, that you can't know truth. Do you see the problem with it? It's self-refuting.
Yeah, it's stupid.
I'm going to come back to the third big thing also, but I want to kind of work with this for a second before we get there. My students had a professor in college who was one of these guys who would reject objective truths or reject that we could have any certainty about objective truth claims. So I told him, and it was in a microbiology class at University of California at Santa Barbara. My son David was there for undergraduate work. And so I told him, if you want to mess with this guy, I want you to go to school tomorrow and go into this class about 15 minutes late. And I want you to tell this guy, you know, for me, it's hard for me to get up in the morning. For me, the start time for this class is about 10:45 or so, because I can't get up any earlier than that. Now, this guy who rejects objective moral truths, is he going to be okay with you coming into his class 15 minutes late every day? No, because he believes there's an objective start time to his class. That is not a matter of opinion. It's objectively true. It's 10:30. I said, also go out and buy his, the books these professors typically offer. They're super expensive, and they change a few lines every year, and they want you to go out the next year and buy the updated edition to their book. Forget all that. I said, just go on eBay, get a $5 version of the book, bring it in and say, hey, this isn't your book, but I like this book better. It's cheaper, covers about the same material, easier to read. It only cost me $5. Do you think he's going to be okay with that? No, because the guy who rejects objective truth thinks there's an objectively true text for the class. I said, please tell me he's not giving you true, false, or multiple choice questions. He said, oh yeah, he's giving us true, false, multiple choice tests. Well, how can you do that if you deny there's any objective truth? I would just go in the next time, just go all true, and hand it to him and say, I just did 100%.
Every answer. These are all true. They're just...
paper, here you go. Because after all, it's about my opinions on these things. There's no objectively true.
You can't tell me I'm wrong.
Subjective. As a matter of fact, if this guy did a crime in my city, I could tell you a lot about this guy just from his DNA. Because the objective truth of reality worms all the way down to the level of his DNA. I can tell you if he's a black. I can tell you if he's a male. I can tell you if he's Asian. I can tell you. A day is probably coming when I'll be able to tell you how tall he is from his DNA. But for now, I can tell you some objectively true claims about his ethnicity, about his sexuality, male or female.
You bigot. You don't know how he identifies.
If just
oh, damn, you're a bigot for calling him a he.
That's right. Yep.
Nature of his DNA. Objective truth is undeniable, folks. It's like a safe that's falling out of the sky. You can deny it's falling on you, but you're going to get smacked. It's just the nature of truth. Also, guys like
Still
this
gonna
typically
smack
have
you on
bumper
the
stickers
head.
like this on their car. Have you seen this bumper sticker? It's very popular, and it has children. These are its children. They're all kind of similar because they're trying to make a claim about the nature.
I've seen those before a lot of times, actually.
Yep.
Seems like it's always liberals that have them on the back of their cars.
So the first one wants to kill all the rest.
Yep.
The second one hates the last one. And the fourth one. The third one, I don't even really have any idea what that is.
Well,
Profits, benefit, peaceful charities. And the last one on there covers a whole range of stuff that is not. Some of it's true and some of it isn't.
Have you seen this bumper sticker? It's very popular, and it has children. These are its children. They're all kind of similar because they're trying to make a claim about the nature of belief systems, that basically all religions are equally true. Can't you guys just get along and coexist? My gosh, please, it's a joke. Just get along. Really? Well, here's the problem. These claims of these systems are very much opposed. If you believe in an Eastern kind of belief system, you probably believe in a God that's not personal, an impersonal force. But the problem is Christianity proposes this God is personal. These two things cannot both be true. They are directly contradictory.
Yeah, so it's a rejection of truth. It's a rejection of reality.
One can be right, the other false. They can both be false, but they can't both be equally true. They can be equally untrue, or one can be true. Same thing is true when you look at the nature of Jesus' deity. My Jewish friends reject, a lot of my friends would say, and I work with a lot of lawyers in Los Angeles County who are district attorneys, the entire set of DAs I'm working with on this case, they're all culturally Jewish, and they might give you that Jesus was a smart teacher and maybe a wise ancient rabbi, but they would never give you that Jesus is God. Let me go back. This is a claim only Christians make. Now look, these are in opposition to each other. We can both be wrong, but we can't both be right. And Muslims who deny that Jesus even died on the cross have a claim that's just the opposite of ours. We can both be wrong, but we can't both be right. You see, this idea that all religions are equally true is nonsense. All they can equally be is false, but they can't be equally true.
Which is the whole point. They want to claim that all religions are false, while ignoring that they themselves have a religion.
Yep.
See, people have redefined religion to mean belief in God. But that's not what religion means. Religion means belief system. Religion does not mean belief in God. That's theism, means belief in God. But yeah, the point is you're all equally wrong. All of you are garbage. Yeah, you can believe whatever you want, so long as you just keep it as your personal subjective opinion. Keep it to yourself. And just be a good person. Well, okay, be a good person, because they love to talk about that. What does that mean? Who's defining good here?
Yeah, right.
Would you be okay with me defining good as I kill you? I punch you in the face until you're dead?
Oh, no, that can't be good. That can't be good.
Yeah. Why?
Well, because it affects me, Graham.
That's right. Exactly. It affects me.
No, it's
Yeah.
not good because God says it's not good.
Exactly.
That's why.
God is the objective standard for reality. Not just morality, all of reality. God is the only standard. And so we have an objective truth that is God himself.
That's right.
See the difference? Now, the last lie you're going to hear in the culture is one that I think Scott's already talked about when he talked about tolerance. So I want to review it, and maybe I'll give you a different way to think about it. This idea that tolerance has been redefined by our culture to this definition, which is really a bad definition. The idea that everyone's ideas, everyone's view on anything should be accepted equally as being equally meritorious, equally virtuous, equally true. All views should be embraced as equally true. And if you're not willing to do that, Mr. Christian, Mrs. Christian, then you're an intolerant jerk. Why can't we just get along? You're so...
Do you see the problem, Kevin?
Yeah.
That they're intolerant themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So they're hypocrites that make an exception. We're allowed to not tolerate the exclusive claims of Christianity. So the only thing you're really allowed to tolerate is this view that everybody can believe whatever they want. But we don't tolerate that in any other area. We don't tolerate it in science. We don't tolerate it in medicine. We don't tolerate it in the maths classroom. We don't tolerate it in education, or most of education, because this is being included in education. We don't tolerate it in the justice system. So we're pretending like beliefs about the ultimate issues of reality are the least objective and the least relevant, the least important.
Intolerant. You won't accept this other view about same-sex marriage, about homosexuality, about abortion. You will not accept us.
Yep.
You have to judge us. If you want to be tolerant, you have to accept our view as equally meritorious. Really? That is not the definition of tolerance. That's just stupid. And by the way, do you think that these folks could hold to this view? No, it's self-refuting. What if I came to one of these guys and I said, okay, here's my view. My view is that some ideas stink. Some ideas are good. Some ideas are bad. Some things are true. Some things are false. Some things we should really reject as a culture. That's my view. Can you, Mr. Tolerant, accept my view as equally meritorious to yours? No, he can't. His view is that all views are equal. Well, my view is that all views aren't. But since you think all views are equal, you have to accept my view as equal to yours. But he can't do that, can he? Because I hold the view that all views aren't equal. This view is impossible to hold. You can't be tolerant like that, because by being tolerant like that, they reveal how intolerant they are of us who hold the traditional view of tolerance.
Yeah. And these people are the most nasty and intolerant by either definition of tolerance. They are the most nasty and intolerant people on the planet. They're liars, deceivers, fools.
Tolerance, which is very different. Traditional view requires 2 people and 3 Ds. 2 people and 3 Ds to be tolerant. Here's the definition of tolerance, the real definition of tolerance: a fair, objective, and permissive attitude toward those whose opinions, practices, race, religion, nationality, etc. differ from yours. You don't, in other words, you don't agree. You don't think they're equally meritorious. You hate their views. They're different than yours.
But you love the person. You tolerate the person. You don't force them to change their opinion. It's not tolerance of all views, it's tolerance of people that is important.
To be tolerant, that's the definition.
This new definition of tolerance has done away with the idea of truth. There is no truth. You've got to tolerate all views and be intolerant towards people who don't tolerate all views. So only one view is allowed. The view that you tolerate all views. So you're not tolerating all views. So once again, it eats itself.
It requires 3 Ds. You ready? The first thing it requires is a disagreement. I'm not asking if you have to agree with somebody in order to be tolerant. What's there to be tolerant about? We agree. You don't tolerate people who agree with you. You tolerate people who disagree with you. The second D you need is a very strong understanding of what the differences are. What's the difference between same-sex marriage and natural marriage? What is the difference? We have to understand the distinctions. And the third thing you need is the third D.
I object to that term, same-sex marriage, because that's not marriage.
Yeah.
It goes against the definition of what marriage is. We can't just redefine things. Words have meaning. It's ridiculous.
I agree.
I don't know. I don't like when people say same-sex marriage, because it's like a contradictory statement. Like that, it's not marriage.
It's not marriage. You know what I like to call it? The redefinition of marriage.
Redefinition of marriage. Yep.
Changing the definition or changing the meaning of marriage, or
Right.
Or so-called same-sex marriage, because people do call it that. But but I don't think that was really his point. So there's a disagreement.
Don't be a jerk. I think didn't Ryan Dobson come in here and basically talk about that? Okay. So you have to have these 3 Ds to be truly tolerant. Hold on to your disagreement. Do not relinquish your position. Do not accept theirs as true when you know yours is. Let the disagreement elaborate the differences, and then finally, don't be a jerk doing it. 3 Ds. Now, before we leave this session, I've got to define for you truth, and we'll end right here. What is truth? Because there are some definitions you're going to get in university systems that are not true. There's the first one. Could it be, let's back up here. I can just slowly, did you write it down? It's called pragmatism. Pragmatic theory of truth. Pragmatism basically just argues that if it works, it's true. Why is isoniazid the true drug that cures TB? Because it works. We tried a lot of other stuff. This one works, therefore, if it works, it's true. That's going to be offered to you by the culture. But think about it for a second. Always look for counter examples to see if something is true. Does death work for you? Doesn't work for me, and I'm 53 now, and I'm getting, it doesn't work for me. Is it still true? Yeah. How about this? Have you ever told a convenient, successful lie? Susie, am I losing my hair? Oh, no, you look as good as you ever did. Your hair is so full. What's she going to tell me? Do I look fat in this dress? What am I really going to say here? Have you ever told a lie successfully? Yes. Did you telling the successful lie then make it true? No. It might work, but it's not true. I can't use pragmatism. How about this? This is something that's called empiricism. It's the idea that I can't know something is true unless I can test it with my own senses.
That's Wildheart, who then you immediately proved to him, and he admitted that wasn't true, but you didn't drive it home. He managed to distract you. Because that was his position. I need to be able to test it. Well, what do you mean by test? Do you mean by your senses, observation? And you immediately took him to Washington. History. And he distracted, and you, wandered off. But that truth claim needed to be challenged, and he needed to be proven to be the liar and fool that he is.
Now, we already know that some things are subjectively different. You might say something is sweet while somebody else says it's bitter. But let me just offer this to you. If someone makes this claim, the claim that I can't know something is true unless I discover it with science. How many of your friends are like that? Or maybe you even held that position. I can't know something is true unless it's demonstrated with science.
Can you prove that statement by science?
No.
No. So it can't be true.
I can't.
It's not the only way to know things. It's one of the ways to know some things.
Know something is true unless I can test it with science. This is empiricism in its purest form. Our culture, for the most part, says this all the time. But let me ask you a question. This claim about truth, can I test it with science?
There we go.
Can I test this claim that you can only know something by testing it with science? Can I test that claim with science? No. This is a philosophical position.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a scientific statement. This is a philosophical statement. It turns out that all science begins with philosophy. So the idea that science, because science has to have an idea about what's in bounds and what's out of bounds.
And so why would we believe that? Because we have a creator God who is orderly and wants us to investigate his universe. The universe shows us him, and so he wants us to investigate it and is orderly. It operates according to laws, which the God of law created.
That's right.
And only the biblical Christian worldview gives you a basis for science. Only the Christian worldview, biblical Christian worldview, not the fake Christian worldviews. That's why modern science was formed in Europe following the Reformation. They went back to the Bible, and modern historians admit this. If atheism is true, science doesn't exist. Science exists, atheism must be false. Atheism cannot explain science. And neither can any other belief system. If atheism is true, then there's no such thing as thought and logic. Chemicals just bounce around and do what chemicals do. And we have no ability to determine. Actually, go back even further than that. So that's one problem. But if evolution is true, this universe popped into being from nothing. How do we know that's not happening all the time? So every scientific experiment you do, how do you know that that's not nothing doing it? And I've never had an atheist even acknowledge that that's the problem with atheism, let alone give an answer to that. They just roll their eyes and ignore, typical
Ignore logic. Yeah.
Typical cultists.
Yeah.
Just mock and ignore. Don't try and have a serious conversation.
Yeah.
We're almost finished.
That's a philosophical
I
distinction.
want to talk to you offline.
You cannot know this truth scientifically. This is a truth you accept philosophically as the foundation for your science.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, it's self-refuted. This statement is self-refuting. It cannot be determined with science.
Yep.
So apparently you do believe in something that can't be determined with science. You believe this. See how it doesn't work? What about this? Emotivism. A lot of my Mormon family, this is how they determine Mormonism is true. Just read it. Pray to God. God will answer your prayer. It's in James. If you want knowledge, just ask for knowledge. God will give it to you. And I've had some experience which confirms this. Truth is what I feel. Really? Have you ever had irrational fears? I have a partner who's 6'4", about 280 pounds, and he's got an irrational fear of garden spiders. It's hilarious. Every time we find a garden spider, we bring it to work. And we put it in a little piece of Tupperware, and we put it on his desk. And he comes in, and when he first notices the spider, he screams like a schoolgirl. He's a huge guy. He's got hands like baseball mitts, okay? but he screams like a squirrel where it comes to spiders because he's got an irrational fear. Can you really trust your heart? What does the Bible tell us about your heart? It's
There we
wicked and
go.
deceitful, right? And by the way, what can your emotions tell you about paper clips? There are several truth claims related to paper clips, their shape, their construction. Can your emotions tell you anything about that? No. There are lots of truth claims that have no emotional component whatsoever. Emotions can't tell you the truth. Here's the definition of truth you need to hold on. It's a biblical definition. It's a simple one. It's called the correspondence theory of truth. Truth is a relationship. I don't mean your relationship with Jesus. I mean truth is a relationship between what you think is true and what really is. If I think there's a podium on this stage, I'm outside, and then I come inside and I see there really is a podium on this stage, the fact that my beliefs about the existence of a podium match the reality of the existence of the podium, that relationship between my beliefs corresponding to reality is called truth. It's a correspondence relationship between your beliefs. It basically is this: what you believe equals what is. That's truth.
Well, that really wasn't his primary presentation on cold case Christianity, so we'll have to do another review some other time.
How many seminars does he have?
I haven't done an exhaustive investigation. I don't know. That's the first time I've heard him present that way. I've heard him present truths like that. But yeah.
Bless you.
Oh, excuse me. So what he's presented there is a more detailed look at the particular issue of truth. How do we know truth? How do we know what's true? He's, spent an hour just on that one particular topic. But his broader presentation is how he came to know that Jesus is the truth. So first of all, he had to understand that there is an objective truth. So that was just one step in his journey towards coming to know Jesus. Yeah, so we'll have to do another one sometime.
Yeah.
Cold case for the reliability of the New Testament. So that should be an interesting one. I might bookmark that. We'll do some J. Warner Wallace. But let's remember, this is evidentialism. There's a lot of philosophy in this, and I don't completely disagree with it, but it's the gospel that saves people. This can be a useful tool so that we can destroy people's faith in their own thinking, and we can answer objections. Oh, yep, I've got an answer for that. And then you can take them back to the gospel. Take them back to, you're not a good person. Why are you lying about reality? Why do you believe foolish things? Because you're not a good person. You love sin. So I hope that was helpful for people. And as always, just trust Jesus Christ. Catch you next time.